Hey, this is John with thenetguy.com, and I'm here with some simple tips about universal power supplies, or better known as battery backups. These things can save your computer from damage, can save your information from getting lost, and they're essential if you have a small business or home network and you want to make it through these power outages. Stick around and I'm going to show you how you can get these things and refurbish them very economically. So I picked up both of these units secondhand for almost nothing. This one was about $10 and this one I got yesterday for $1.79. It was on a green tag sale and I couldn't pass it up. Now what's interesting is most people will plug them in and try to turn them on and they'll get nothing. And this is very, very common. The batteries in these things are almost always identical, and they're a 7 amp hour 12 volt battery, and when the battery goes bad, people throw them out. These things are $100, $150 or more each, and if you can take a $17 battery and install it, you can turn one of these things back into service and use it for yourself. So as you can tell, each one of these units is a different size physically, but they also have very different capacities. Capacities on UPS or battery backups are measured in VA, or volt amps. Now VAs are 1500 VA, 1000 VA, or as little as 375 represents the apparent load that your UPS will get. Now with computers and modern switching power supplies, the VA number can be slightly higher than the actual wattage number that you'll see. So this one is a 1000 VA and may only be 600 or 700 watts. This one is 1500 VA, may only be about 900 watts. So something to keep an eye out for. Almost all of them have a built-in self-test or a display. This one does not. It's a little bit older. But with this one specifically, it will not turn on unless you have a fully charged or close enough to fully charged battery that it can recover it. So a couple things to look for. There's many suppliers of batteries. This one happens to be an 8 amp hour battery. They range between 7 and 9 amp hours. And I like to check the initial starting voltage on them. So just for comparison, when we do the work here, so just for comparison's sake, this one has a voltage of 12.9 volts. So it's higher than 12 volts, and that's normal, and they'll charge upwards of 13 to 14 volts. So that's a good battery. And we're going to take and open this one up. Now the first thing to make sure is that it's not plugged in, and this one is. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug it and we can continue. Okay, this unit is unplugged and we can work on extracting the battery. Couple things to look at here. This has two different styles of plugs in the back. It has some that say surge and noise protection, which would be things for monitors, laser printers, things that you don't want to try to back up power for. And these other ones here say battery, surge, and noise protection. So these are the ones that the battery is going to cover. So there's one screw on this model on the very bottom. And when we undo that, we're going to get our first peek at the battery. I have not opened this one up before. And it looks like the original battery. As you can see here, this was my Goodwill green tag sticker. Now, these things are held in by little clips here and tape, so these little contacts are connected to this battery. Battery actually looks like a nice brand, but definitely dead. Now you can test these at a second-hand store, and a lot of times they'll just come back with no voltage. Make sure you unplug the terminals before you do a test, and this one has 5.8 volts, so I think we know right away that this one's not going to charge up or start up because it's less than half the rated capacity. I'm going to take this one out. Remember the red wire and the black wire, those are important. And so you can see here, this is a 12 volt, 35 watt. This is really common. Do you see the bulging on here? Hopefully you guys can see that. That bulging on there means that the lead acid battery, the sealed lead acid battery, has swollen or expanded. That's usually really common when they're going bad. So I'm going to take the new battery replacement and I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to engage this connector. Now there's F1 and F2 terminals. That's one thing to remember. So these ones connect on and they're holding on. They're slightly different in size. The smaller one obviously will fit on here. You just want to make sure that you have good and sturdy contact there, because that is going to draw some power. So push that all the way closed. We're going to slide our cover back on. Put our retaining screw in. And we're going to go ahead and plug it in. Now I'm going to plug it into this other unit. Normally you don't plug units into each other, but I just happen to know that I'm plugging into the non-protected side. You don't want UPSs plugged into UPSs in general. So this device already turned on. So you can see my battery capacity is 100% and I have a screen that works. So this one should be ready to go. There's a couple ways to test that. Hold the power button down for 2 seconds. You'll hear that beep and it'll turn itself off, and now that's off. And if you hold it down and turn it on, it'll come back on. Nope, you have to hold it down for 2 seconds. There we go. So now it'll come back on and it's showing the voltage. Now what's interesting is I can test the voltage on the back here. We're going to want to switch to AC voltage. And you can see here it's putting out 122.5. Now when I unplug the UPS here, it's going to do two things. It's going to immediately switch to battery backup mode, and it's going to be making that voltage that we need or something close to it from the internal battery. And two, it's going to start making noise because it's been unplugged. So we're going to go ahead and unplug that. Okay, so it dropped to 115 volts here. And we have a fire truck going by. So it dropped to 115 volts and you're hearing this alarm that's telling us something is wrong. The input voltage is 0. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the power off. Hold up 2 seconds, let go, wait, and the voltage goes down to 0. So this one is repaired and ready to go. So that one was repaired pretty easily. I think we're going to shoot for 2 for 2. I'm going to open the next one. Now this one, again, different model, doesn't have an LCD display, and it's also plugged in, so I'm going to have to unplug it. Okay, and for this smaller unit, it'll have a very, very similar battery in it, but it doesn't have a display. So it's got some LED lights that tell us if it's overloaded, if it's on battery, and it has a power button, but again, no display. So it's just as easy as the other ones. There's some screws along the bottom that we're going to take out that cover the battery cover. And you're going to see that most all of these are the same. So this one is the lowest rated at 375 VA. And sure enough, on the inside, you can see the battery right there. If I slide this out a little bit, again, 12 volt, 7.2 amp hour battery. And notice the telltale swelling here on the ends of the battery. So that one is most likely gone bad. And I'm also going to double check the voltage in DC on the battery. This is 1.27, so this is definitely a low battery. So I have another battery right here that we can use. Put in this, and this is 12.95 volts, so definitely much higher voltage. Again, installation procedure very, very similar. So I'm going to go ahead and slide it in to where I can get to those terminals. This battery just fits nicely, and there's one terminal locked in. There we go, and the other. I'm going to slide that closed. I'm going to put it back on its back. And I'm going to put the cover back on the battery compartment. Okay, now we can test it out. A lot of these won't turn on unless they're plugged into power initially. We can test it, and you can see that it does turn on now. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and let it start to charge up, and then we'll take a look at it and see how it works. So now it doesn't have the power on, doesn't have any other indicator, so I push the power button, and now power's green. So it looks like it's ready. We'll go ahead and go to the back here. Again, similar situation. Some of these are battery and surge, some of them are surge only. So we're going to take this and make sure we switch it to alternating current. With AC, it doesn't matter which port you plug into, but there, 122.5, exactly what we saw on the other one. So I'm going to make sure this stays into those terminals. And then I'm going to go ahead and unplug this, and we'll see how it works as a battery backup. Wow, that's held the rated voltage pretty well. You can hear it buzzing, so it's definitely working. Well, it's moving around a little bit. You can see some fluctuation in the voltage here. But this device is ready to go. It's working. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And we're done with our test. So in conclusion, you can see that the two units that we got from the second-hand store are both now working and functional with just a replaced battery. And with a $17 battery, recovered a $100 battery backup system. So if you're shopping for a battery backup, I would recommend either a Tripp-Lite is a really good brand, APC makes good ones. Beyond that, CyberPower and a few other brands are acceptable. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something today. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of my video. If you liked what you saw here, do me a solid, hit the like button down below. If you really want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and if you want YouTube to actually let you know they're there, hit the bell. Thanks again, and check out links to these other videos you might like.